If your children have been on screens a little bit too long during this winter break, stay tuned for today's episode with Preschool All Stars because I'm joined by my good friend, Maggy Woodley, creator of Red Ted Art and a beautiful YouTube series that we're going to talk about. She's going to share her tips on how to get kids off their screens a little sneakily way and being able to craft together as a family. So I'm so excited. Welcome, Maggy, to the podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me again. It's really nice to be here. And like you say, it's been a long winter and we still have more time ahead of us to get through these cold days, right?
Absolutely. And I know the last time we spoke, it was almost a year ago. So, for everyone who can't remember, could you give us a little bit about yourself, how you got started, what Red Ted Art is all about?
Great. So I'm Maggy and I run Red Ted Art. I've been doing it for about 12 years now. I started Red Ted Art when my kids were toddlers, and actually there were a 2-year-old and a baby. And it was a way for me to firstly do something with my children. Secondly, I sort of felt accountable because I needed content for the website, so to speak. So it kind of pushed us towards regular activities together, which I think sometimes we can all get lost in the just the tiredness of having toddlers and preschoolers. I mean, they are exhausting, but they are wonderful. But you always think next week I'll do something next week. So the blog was a really great focus for me to actually spend time with my kids. So it was actually a really lovely way to build something up that obviously now is also business. But at the time, it was actually as much about the kids as it was about setting something up. And that was 12 years ago. And then about 5 years ago, must be about 7 years now because they're a bit older. When they both started school full time, that gave me the free time to create video content. So obviously, my kids are no longer in the videos because they're at school, but it just gave me that creative space to create video content to help parents visualize a craft better, if that makes sense. And when the kids were little, it was a bit hard because obviously, filming with pets and young children is very difficult. So yes, that's the background. 12 years basically of crafting with kids and what I've learned along the way.
That's amazing. And so not only do you have your beautiful blog, but you also have a YouTube channel and which spun off a new TV series. Now, this is in the UK with their Sky Kids. It's kind of like Netflix for us in America, but Sky Kids in the UK. So tell us, how did they find you? I mean, that's got to be kind of exciting to be creating a TV series.
I know, it was, to be honest, it was very special for want of a better word. I have to say it was one of those I'd like to think a lockdown opportunity, both on their part and our part. So we were obviously, at the beginning, rewind 2 years like the rest of the world in the first lot of lockdowns, and everybody was reinventing what they were doing. Well, that's my interpretation. I mean, they never actually said this, but that's the only reason why I think they branched out and thought, let's take a risk on bloggers or vloggers, because I already had a YouTube channel at that point, and they were obviously looking to create content for kids who are at home and stuck, and parents who are at home and stuck, and hopefully what I would consider good quality educational helpful type content. And they approached me and asked if I was interested in creating a 20-part series for them. I said, oh, that's a bit much, because obviously I'm at home with my kids as well, and it's lockdown and we're quite busy. So I brought a friend along, so Helen from Arty Crafty Kids, and together we produced this series both in our respective houses, remotely, online, and it was amazing. And so they did it once, and obviously we were a bit nervous, being Sky and everything. And then a few months later, they asked us to do another series, and now we're on series 4.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I mean, series 4 hasn't been uploaded yet, but they've it's been delivered. They're doing whatever they're doing with it their end. I think they're drip feeding it throughout the year, but yeah, it's really good. So it's actually quite reassuring because I obviously like what we were doing. The ethos was, keep it simple, use everyday materials. Basically it was about enabling people, not about making crafts scary or difficult or hard. And I think the key really was those everyday materials. And, that's something that Helen and I both are passionate about anyway. Crafting with your kids shouldn't cost you a fortune. It should be simple. And you should be able to do lots of fun things with some quite basic stuff. So it worked really well. And I think, the fact that they commissioned 4 series in the end, so 80 videos, hopefully shows that they were really pleased with what we were creating for them.
Oh, absolutely,
and
it
that
does.
the viewers were watching.
Yes.
And that the viewers were watching. They never share the stats. We keep asking, so would you like to share some stats on how the videos did? They don't. They just say, oh, a bit more of this or a bit less of that. But that's it. They went, I was like, oh, I'd love to know exactly what the views are. But, you know, the fact that recommissioned hopefully says that it's done well enough. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. That's beautiful. You mentioned a really important part because you talked about everyday materials. And so I got to tell you, like, we bought my kiddos this food. You know how you can get subscription boxes for your kids?
Yes.
So we got them this, like, you know, oh, super cute, kids can cook subscription box. And I was like, sweet, check. Like,
amazing.
I will buy that because I assumed everything was in there. Nope, it was go buy molasses. And I'm like, I don't want to go to the store. So the same philosophy exists with crafting. Like, that's why we don't do it, because half the time we don't have the stuff.
No, exactly. And I think, you know, that you mentioned, you know, molasses. I mean, it's quite a niche product, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's lots of uses for it, but it's even more frustrating when the extra item you need is something a little bit random. So I think the same applies for me for kids crafts. I mean, of course, you know, I still have probably more suppliers than anyone else, because obviously this is my life and my business and, you know, my passion. But even then, the materials I use tend to be basic. I mean, yes, you might not have the same colors in your house, like if I'm using colored paper, but to be honest, most people can get hold of colored paper in some colors. Most people will have some paints, you know. Most people might have the odd, you know, ball of yarn lying around, you know. So obviously you might not, you know, obviously I have more choice of colors and sizes and whatever, and I do appreciate that from that point of view it's still easier for me to create all these inverted commas amazing things. But in essence the materials we use are quite basic, and I think that's really important. And also kids, I mean, I don't know about your kids, but when mine were little, oh my goodness, they used to make like 1,000 things, you know. you start off with one toilet roll and you turn around and then they've made 20 whatever it was we were making, right? And if you're using expensive materials, that's not okay. Well, I don't think it's okay. And I think when we're crafting with children, it should just be fun and simple. It should not eat into your family budget, you know. And if you are going to spend money, you spend it on like something like paints that last you a long time and can be used in lots of different ways. I mean, we do use things like pipe cleaners occasionally and stuff, but I'm not a massive fan of those kind of materials. I'm like literally toilet paper rolls, paper, paint, buttons that you've recycled, so not necessarily gone out and bought some. Occasionally I'll buy some because I can't resist them, but you know, it's that sort of thing. And just keep all, you know, if you have a, you know, small budget, you can still have a go and still have fun with your kids, I think.
Oh, totally. And what I love too is like you're going to be able to use those materials in future art projects. I mean, that molasses sitting in my cabinet will never get used again because I hate gingerbread. So at least with yours, when they buy it even one time, they know they're going to find a use for it in the future.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. Especially if they keep watching my crafts.
Exactly.
Right? So you'll be using it.
Totally. Last time you were here, we had a really cool discussion about process versus product. And it was, I mean, I actually love vibing with you because we have some pretty serious, you know, opinions. And so it's really fun to like play both sides. This topic is also a little bit sensitive to families. And so first off, we just want to say, like, you do you know what I'm saying? Like, whoever's listening to this, you know best your kids and what works for your family. So any of our discussions about screens, I know sometimes it's a hot topic, but I think it's important to talk about like the things that parents are struggling with, right? Like, I know.
Sorry to interrupt. With screens, my one big thing is like, it is important that you as a parent, you know, your mental health. So happy mom, happy kids, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we can't criticize anyone. If you feel, in inverted commas, that the child next door has watched 3 hours telly and that's outrageous, actually no, because you don't know what's going on. And if that's what's needed, so that's what's really important to say, that it's you do you. It's such a good thing to say because we don't know what's going on, and all these tools that we have help us in different ways, but then sometimes we feel maybe we want to get off the screen. And here I'm saying, come watch my YouTube channel. How does that work, right?
I know. And that's what I was loving was I mean, sometimes it's a little bit of a like, oh, when you say, all right, we're done, or in 5 minutes, we're done. But you came up with a really cool strategy that I think is going to
Yeah.
save everybody. So you have a beautiful YouTube channel with, 3 to 5 minute craft videos with materials that mostly can be around your house, and you show the process. So tell everyone what your suggestion was to
Okay,
entice your kiddos to get off the screens when it is time.
I mean, it's very simple. I think. I mean, with our children or with my children, you're always negotiating. You're always saying, one more, one less. Another 20 minutes, another 10 minutes. So for what has worked for us is we say, the child's watched whatever they've watched already, and they go just one more, and you go, okay, tell you what, we'll compromise. You get to watch a bit more YouTube. However, let's watch a craft together. It doesn't have to be Maggie's, but obviously Maggie's is really good.
Yes.
Let's watch a craft together, or let's find 2 or 3 craft videos that we want to take a look at, and then we'll check out what supplies we have, and we'll make one of those things. So yes, it is on the parent to then, especially with preschoolers, obviously, it is then on the parent to make some time for your child, and then you have to obviously help set things up and stuff. But it's a nice way to come off the screen, so you're watching something together. I think watching something together is lovely. Like we have movie night where we all make the effort to watch the movie together. It's not just putting the kids in the room on their own. It's something you do together, right?
Yes.
So you watch a few videos together. In other words, mom learns how to make something.
Yes.
And then you come off the screen having negotiated this outcome with your children, and then you go off and make something. And most kids, especially the little ones, they want to craft with you, they want to bake with you, they want to run around in the park with you, right? They don't really mind what you're doing. So I guess you just select a craft where you think you've got the supplies, and then you get going, and hopefully that will actually get them off the screen.
Oh, I almost guarantee it will. I'll tell you what, at least in my family. So I don't know everybody's family, but in my family, if kids had a choice between electronics or like quality time with mom, my daughter would always choose quality time. My son, I think in his heart would choose quality time. I think sometimes he would still choose screens. But anyways, I definitely think that, okay, now we're going to go have some fun together. And what I love too about it is it's not just watching really amazing craft videos that are super fun and engaging, but it's also this great transition where now we're involved with our children and spending quality time with them afterwards, which helps their brain go back into creative mode and go back into, oh, now that we've done this and I had some assistance through it, right? It's great for ages like, preschooler with parents' help, all the way up to like 12-year-olds for sure. Yeah. You can do it on their own. But now they kind of have this transition where their brain transitions, and they can continue on with the craft materials around the house, sometimes even without mom after that, because now they're sparked, right?
Or depending on what you've made, they can then take what you've made and go and play with it.
Yeah.
So again, I was thinking back to my kids when they were little, and I, cliche, but the toilet roll craft, or cardboard tube if you're not keen on the actual toilet roll, or you can blitz them in the microwave if you worry about it. They would then go and play with it. So you actually made them a little toy, and because they were part of the process of making whatever you'd made, they then really wanted to engage with it further and play with it further. Or I mean, this was a slightly more elaborate project, but the kids and I made a pirate ship a few years ago, mainly because my son was given a pirate ship. My daughter wanted to play with it. He didn't want to let her play. So I said, okay, let's make one. So we all made one. And I kid you not, this must be 8 years ago. We still have it, right? They've outgrown it. It's just sitting on a shelf now as a decoration with all the pirate. But the point is, nobody wanted to chuck it away, right?
Because it had such good memories, right?
Yeah, and it was played with a lot, I have to say. So I was like, and that was out of what, half an hour in total. Maybe it was 40 minutes because there was some drying time of the paint, but in total half an hour we spent together making it. But they've spent hours playing with it, right?
Yes.
So there is that value as well, that you're kind of, again, you've transitioned from the screen. You've allowed them to switch on that creative brain, like you've just pointed out, which is really lovely. And you've also allowed yourself to say, okay, now I need to set some time aside for my kids and do a little bit of stuff with them. And then after that, you say, okay, it's off. Now you need to go and play. So again, I used to do that a lot when my kids were younger, in the long holidays and the long when they're off school. I used to say, I need to do a bit of work now, and I'd stick to my promise. And we'd even set an alarm. I'm going to do 30 minutes of work, and then I'm going to get up, and then we're going to do this. And then I said, but once we've done that, I will need to go back to work for another, I don't know, hour until lunchtime or whatever. And that worked quite well, because when we tried to really stick to what I promised, so that the alarm helped, because obviously when you're working, you get really carried away. And yeah, so you can make that time that you put aside for the kids, you can make it creative, and then hopefully they can carry on. And then they would then draw, simpler stuff. They wouldn't make the same elaborate craft, but they would make smaller versions that they were capable of doing on their own.
That's awesome. And you mentioned really importantly, like they may play with it even longer because they were involved in the process of it. I think of all the Christmas gifts that we've got laying around in the house or back in cupboards, because it's like we're going back to, real life. And so put the Christmas things away. They'll never be touched again, or they got played with for an hour and then it's back to like, okay, now what? So I love that we can involve our kiddos in the play, and that literally might be the thing they choose to play with because they have such good memories about it.
Yeah, and that's such a valid point. I mean, over the years, I'm almost horrified at the amount of toys they were given, family and friends, and everybody wants to give them stuff, and how many of them they didn't actually play with very much.
Yeah,
it's quite scary, right?
Yeah.
And actually, now you say that, a lot of the things we made were played with. Not all of them, to be fair, and some were just decorations, or some were just we then would give to Granny as a gift or something. But that's also useful, right? It's also nice to be able to make a gift for someone. And that my kids are, so they're almost 14 and 12 now, and this Christmas was made, they spent time making stuff for people. Even the 14-year-old boy who sometimes feels less confident, even though I think he's very good, but they still made they made things for family, and I think that's really nice, rather than go out and spend money. We are in a very consumer society where we're always spending. So I thought that was really nice. I'm really pleased to see that they're putting some thought into what they could give to each other.
Absolutely. That is so beautiful. Well, Maggy, it is always a pleasure to have you on our podcast. And if you're in the UK, go check out Sky Kids, and the show is called Best Mates Ever. If you're not in the UK, you need to go check out our YouTube channel. We've linked it in the description and show notes below. So just check the link, go click over there. They're beautiful, fun craft videos, about 3 to 5 minutes long. Preschoolers, you can watch them with your parents, and then they can go ahead and do them together. Or if you have kiddos ages 6 to 12, you might be able to just have them do them on their own. But thank you again, Maggy, for being on our podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
If you love today's episode, then you are going to love this. I want to give you a free gift in your hands. This is a copy of my book, Start Your Preschool, and I want to get it to you for free. Yes, I said for free. It is a 300-page book. It'll help you learn the step-by-step process to actually starting your local or your online preschool. Every single step that I walked myself through, as well as the thousands of women who've created their own successful preschools, have gone through the exact steps listed in this book. Not to mention, I also share 20 amazing women's stories. So you can see how not only did it work for me, but it works for amazing women just like you as well. I want to get you this free copy. Just go to freepreschoolbook.com or click the link in the description and we'll get it to you today. Again, just go to freepreschoolbook.com and we'll get it right to you.